Right, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good
Okay,
afternoon, sir.
right, okay. So, how about New Year? Good? Happy New Year to all of you all, right? Yo, Vishkaranath, Danny. Okay, come up now. Right, let me start now. Right, so we will start with your tute. So, let me just recap what we have discussed on 20th, right? The last time we met, and we discussed about the human resource planning, right? Then we discuss about the importance of human resource planning, and then the objectives of human resource planning. What is the human resource planning process, and reason for creating human resource plan, and then we discuss about the succession plan, and then labor turnover, right? Then uh, then we discuss about the process of procurement, and under that we discuss about the recruitment and what is recruitment, what is the purpose of recruitment, process of recruitment, methods, and then we move into discuss the selection. So selection, where we discuss what is the definitions of selection, objectives, importance, methods, right? And then we discuss about hiring, what is hiring, and then inductions. I think we'll have a brief introduction to induction. Okay, so then before we start today, so I have a model question for you. So what we have learned up to now, I hope you have to be actively involving with me, giving answers and these things like last previous occasions. Now I have developed a model question, right? Now what we have learned last time, we discussed about the job description, about the job specifications, which are component of job analysis, right? Now if I just look at it, this question, which of the following focuses on, just to catch up, right, was to get to see whether you have aware about what we have learned, which of the following focuses on the qualification that a person must possess to perform a given job successfully? What is the answer? Whether it is A, whether it is B, whether it is C, whether it is D. What may be the correct answer? What is the exact correct answer? Huh?
B.
Somebody, huh?
B.
B. Right, exactly correct. The qualifications is the job specification. Experience, qualifications are job specification. Good. Right. Okay. So I prompted me to do next, right? So somebody has answered. Correct. Job specification. Correct. Right. Now I give you homework. No, now I remember, you not remember. So what are the advantages of succession planning under human resources management for a financial institution? Okay, so we discussed what is succession plan last time, right? I just gave you a small question. I don't know whether you answered that. Huh? How many of you have written the answer or have an idea about the answer? Now, what is succession planning? And remember, in fact, I told you categorically. Now, this uh, the succession planning is a mandate plan to be prepared by every bank, right? Because as our regulator, Central Bank of Sri Lanka, instructed, all the banks need to be prepared succession plan. So succession plan is process of, what do you mean by a succession plan? Process of identifying and developing, identify, develop talented internal people, right? Talented internal people with the potential to fill the key leadership positions in your bank. So that is what you call succession plan, right? Okay, so what are the advantages? Can anybody tell me what are the advantages of succession plan? Right? So one advantage, it is increase the availability of experienced and capable employees that are prepared to assume available role. Right? So you are make preparations of your capable people to assume good leadership position. One advantage is that, so you are keeping people, you are preparations of people for take the next position. That's it, one advantage, right? Through succession plan within your organization, you preparing capable, experienced people to take some higher leadership position. That's the first advantage. Another advantage, it is a way of, it is a systematic approach promoting staff. Second one, right? The second advantage, it is a systematic way of promoting your staff. That's the second advantage. Now I give you two advantage. Most of the time the examiner will ask you write short notes, right? So there I have told you, if a question comes like that, write short notes about the succession planning. So first you need to do, you need to define what is succession planning. As I explained to you, what is the definition? Process of identifying and developing internal people with the potential to fill the key leadership position in the bank is called succession planning. Right? So what are the advantage? It increases the availability of experienced and capable employees that are ready to assume leadership position. I have already given you in the cue, right? That's the first advantage. The second advantage, if you want to highlight, you can say, okay, you can say it is a systematic approach for promoting staff. Right? It is a systematic way of promoting your internal staff. Third one, having understood or having identified the person to fill the next. Now say your GM is retiring next week. Now within your senior DGMs or DGMs, you need to find it out one person. For that, we have to groom him to take that position now itself. Therefore, it facilitates the training and development requirement. So succession plan is providing an opportunity to training and development of that particular person to do that job. So there are three advantages you can identify. It increases the availability of experienced people. Second, use as a systematic approach to promoting staff. Third, facilitate training and development. Right? Okay. So what are the disadvantages? What do you think? What may be the disadvantaging of, promoting one person, a succession planning is one is insularity. That is INSULARITY. 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 So what do you mean by that? So that means now getting your internal people to promote, you may be lose a talented outside person to do that job. So that's a disadvantage, right? But when you evaluate the disadvantages and advantages, if you have more advantage, you get it the one from inside, it is better. But there are some disadvantage. One disadvantage, you are losing out the external person, more qualified, talented person to fill this job. So that's a disadvantage. And the other important disadvantage, Putta, internal promotion, the succession planning is a very sentimental thing. This very sentimental thing is very difficult to prepare. That's a main disadvantage. A lot of banks are a little bit reluctant to prepare because of this, sentimental issues. Because somebody may be selected, there are some other people may get angry, right? So they may leave the organization. So there are instances, a lot of instances took place recently in some banks, in some private bank in Sri Lanka. One fellow was promoted, then the guy who is expected to get that position is left the organization and joined another bank as CEO. I don't want to mention the I don't want to mention the place, right? Okay, right. So now we move into the next. What we are going to discuss today, New Year, right, in 2011. So we may have to go for another, maybe this year, this week, maybe next week, and then thereby we cover what we cover the HR, right? So most probably, maybe another 2 weeks time, we may go for a new section, right? Maybe type of clients. Very interesting. Okay, so good. So what we are going to discuss today, we are going to, briefly going to touch again the inductions and orientation, and what is delegations, right? I just incorporated something. What is delegation? Huh? Why? What is delegations and what are the objectives? Why are little reluctant to delegate and things like that? So then, employee appraisers, or we call performance appraisal, very interesting area. Everybody is very keen on that. Then we may look at it, what is reward management, if the time permitted, right? We may look at it, job evaluation and training and development, health and safety. So big areas we are going to discuss. I don't know whether it's the time permitted, but we will try to cover maximum as possible. Right, very interesting areas, especially the job reward management, training and development, job evaluation, employee appraisal is most important for you. Okay, so we just slightly, I think I covered, but I try to touch on this part what we have discussed, induction, uh, under one of the procurement process, the last part. Now, what is induction? Now, induction, as I explained to you last time, if the newly joined person to the bank, so the immediate training is what you call induction. I think most of you have recently joined the bank, may have undergone induction or orientation program. What is the main objective of this orientation program, right? You may get used to the organization and you welcome the organization, right? And then you know what you mean by a probationary period. The moment you join the bank, hired the bank, you may undergo in a probationary period. So it may be depend from 1 month, 6 months, 2 months, and some banks have a some banks will charge you some bond. Some banks, and not all banks, but some banks, right? Okay. So, what are the benefits of an organization orientation program for employee? It can reduce expenditure recruitment, right? Because otherwise, you need to get new people, old people, new people again and again. Is a costly to the organization, right? I think we have discussed these things. Okay, right. Then, what are the information you provided in orientation program? In once you join the bank, they want not put into immediately to the counter or any other place, no. So you usually give some training program, that is induction, mean in the initial training giving to the employee, right? What are the areas? I think some of you may join the bank may have gone through. First, we discuss about the objectives and philosophy of your bank. Say example, talk about what is the vision of the bank, what is the missions of the bank, what are the goals of the organization, they talk about, right? So in the training department, usually all things can be seen, right? What are the objectives, goals, there's a philosophy of your bank. Then sometimes they teach to you about the bank history. So we have been here for the last 24 years or 25 years. What are the policies of the organization? What are the practices? What are the code of conduct? What are the dress code? What are the HR? And also what are the company product and services? What are the key financial products you're offering to the customers? Brand names of that, things like that. Then you may have some plans and facilities, the infrastructure about your organization, how many banks, right? How many branches, organizational structure started from board of directors to CEO, then from senior deputy general managers, deputy AGMs, the senior manager, chief manager, like that. And then some organization having vice president, presidents, like that. They talk about organization structure. Then what are your responsibility towards your bank? So they talk about the responsibility towards your bank, how to behave, what are the how to behave in the bank, code of conduct, dress code, all things, leave, attendance, all they will discuss with you, right? So I think some of you have gone through this one, right? I think it is not in your handout, right? Is that correct, Buddha? I am not saying. It is not there in your handout. කතා කරන්න ඕක කවුරු හරි. සද්ද නෑනේ. කෝ කට අවුරුද්දේ. Huh? So it is not in your handout, this delegation? Hello?
No, no, sir.
No. කමක් නෑනේ. පොඩ්ඩක් ඔය slide එකට ලියා ගන්නකෝ. කමක් නෑ නේද? So I thought of giving you some things also while I completed only, I have noted that it is not given. Okay. So have you heard about the delegation? Right? Have you heard about the word delegation? අහන්නද මේ delegation එක? boss කවදාකවත් delegate කරන්නේ නැහැ නේද? කිසි වැඩක්. Right. So what is delegation? Just write simply in some small place, right? Delegation is the downward transfer of formal authority from one person to another, right? Okay, so delegation means basically it is a management activity, basically delegating some of the work with authority to another person to do. So that is a delegation. Delegation is the downward transfer of formal authority from one person to another person, right? Now sometimes your manager is not there, maybe some person may work as a manager, no? Sometimes he is in the manager's room sometimes. That means that's a delegation. He has delegated the manager position since he's on leave. It may be temporary, right? Delegations, right? So what are the objectives of the delegations? What are the objectives of the delegation? And one point is train and develop subordinates. So train and develop subordinates. So that means through the delegation, now say your assistant manager work as a manager. So he may learn some sort of managerial, what is the role of a manager. Now you may also sometimes, say for an example, you are never in the counter. So there's only 3 people are came to work today, and so there's a lot of queue. So then what manager is telling you, why don't you go to the counter? So now, so it's not a delegation, it's a substitute, right? But sometimes you were given certain senior position to look after. So that is delegation, right? So then you train and develop your subordinates through the delegation, right? As example, manager, till he's on leave, he was delegated assistant manager to work as a manager because of his 7-day annual leave or whatever. Or maybe he's going for corona or something, right? And then, so the objectives of the delegations are to manage time more effectively. Sometimes some managers willing to delegate certain activities to certain people, so therefore he can manage his time for some other important areas, right? So there are some objectives of delegation. One thing is to train and develop your subordinates. Other one is, so you can, while delegating some of the manager's activity to your subordinates, he can spend more time for more important business areas, not involving routine works, but he may delegate some of the works to his subordinates and he can use for more important areas. That's the second objective or advantage. So don't write third one, it's not necessary in your level. You can write the third one. Third one is not necessary. Fourth one, you can say motivate and inspire employees. You like, I mean, everybody is like to work some big work, no? Some say I'm working as for some work for manager. But a manager, I want to do that part. So some you motivate and inspire your employees by delegating some of the works. Okay. And also, the last point you can say, the delegation made responsible and committed towards the work. Employees' commitment will improve by delegation. So, right now, what is simply delegation mean? Some work was assigned to your subordinated with authority. Right? Remember, important thing is authority, because you cannot delegate without giving the authority. Now, say manager, without giving the authority as a manager to sign or something. So what is the point of assistant manager become a manager? He can't do the manager's job, because once you delegate it, he has to give authority. And the more, even though the manager has given the authority to this to the assistant manager do certain thing, but remember, manager cannot avoid accountability. දැන් එයාට එයාගේ ඇසිස්ටන්ට වැඩේ කරන්න දුන්නා කියලා, ඩෙලිගේට් කළා කියලා, පැවරුවා කියලා, ඒකේ වගකීමෙන් වගවීමෙන් මැනේජර්ට අයින් වෙන්න බෑ. අර අනේ මම දැන් මැනේජර් මොකක්ද දැන් මෙයා වැරද්දක් කරනවා. අපි වැරද්දක් කළාම මැනේජර් වෙල කියනවා මම දන්නේ නැහැ, මම එදා මෙයාට මම ඒ වැඩේ කරන්න දුන්නා මගේ ඇසිස්ටන්ට, මට මේකට වගවීමක් ගන්න බෑ, accountability එකක් ගන්න බෑ. එහෙම කියන්න බෑ. Remember, right? Once you delegate it, still the manager accountable, but the person, the assistant manager is responsible but not accountable. Accountable is the manager. The accountability කියන්නේ වගකීම responsibility. So once you assign the person or assistant manager in that case responsible to do that, but that doesn't mean manager cannot avoid accountability. He is accountable, right? There are good things and the bad things about the delegation. Now, why senior managers, why your managers are, now just to listen, all right, try to understand, are reluctant to delegate. අහලා තියෙනවද සුබසහායස කියලා? අර කතාවක් අහලා තියෙනවා, සිංහල කතාවක් තියෙන්නේ. රජතුමා දොරටු පාලයට රජකම දීලා ඊට පස්සේ උන කචල් එක. ඒ වගේ තමයි බයයි. ඒ නිසා the why reasons why senior managers are reluctant to delegate. Why? ඊට පස්සේ මොකද වෙන්නේ? delegate කළාම දුන්න එක පොර වෙනවා නේද? ඊට පස්සේ එයා හිතනවා මැනේජර් මොකුත් දන්නේ නැහැ, මම තමයි ඔක්කොම මැනේජර්ගේ වැඩ කරන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ මැනේජර්ට අන්තිමට දෙනවා වැඩක්. Right? So that is why a lot of managers are little reluctant to delegate some of the works to their subordinates, fear of losing the power. So he think his subordinate is doing the job better than him. So therefore, he is not going to delegate the work. Sometimes fear of losing the power. Fear of losing the power. Some of the reasons, right? I'm just telling you. Second one, not trusting the subordinates. So in order to delegate, you need to trust the subordinates. Now think about the Sri Lanka. Now, president go abroad. Now, once they go abroad, and the country's administrations and they need to be given to somebody, Then president ගීල එනකොට ලංකාව එයා බලය අල්ලගෙන පිටරටින් එයා එනකොට මෙයාව හිර කරනවා. එහෙමනම් මොකද්ද වෙන්න ඕනේ? එතකොට එක්කෝ president රට යන්නේ, එක්කෝ යන්න විශ්වාසයක් නැහැ ඉන්නේකට දීලා. ඒ හින්දා තමයි උඹක් කියලාටම දෙන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝගෙම නෑ කෙනෙකුට. නෑ කෙරුවත් සුද්දා ෂුවර් නෑ. ඒ වගේ තමයි So the managers are a little bit of reluctant to delegate the work because they are not trusting the subordinates. One another reason. Third reason, you say subordinate may not be capable to perform the task. So he is not competent enough to do that job. ඒ නිසා මේක දීලා වැඩක් නෑ. සමහරට බොස් කියන්නේ නැද්ද ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ඔයාට දෙනවට වැඩිම හොඳයි මේ වැඩේ මම්ම කරගන්නම් කියලා. Because you අච්චාරු කරනවා අනා ගන්නවා. So that is your job. You are not trained properly for your subordinate. But sometimes, most of the time, ඔයාට දෙනවට වැඩිය හොඳයි මම්ම මේක කරගන්නවා කියලා බොසා කියලා තියෙනවා නේද? Right? Why? Because the subordinate may not be capable to perform the task, therefore you cannot delegate. There are some reasons for delegation. And also lack of proper time management. Because ඔයාට දුන්නොත් මේක මාසයක් ඔයා ගන්නවා මේක කරන්න. ඊට වැඩිය හොඳයි ඔයා වෙන වැඩක් කරන්නේ මේකම කර කර ඉන්නවා. So another reason, lack of proper time management. You take more time to do that job. So due to these certain reasons, right? And another one is, as I explained to you, some of the recognitions, losing the recognition, right? Okay, so people are talked to X person than manager. So these are some of the reasons why the senior managers are reluctant to delegate, right? I think now you have an idea about what is delegation, right? What are the advantages of delegation and what are the why senior managers are little bit of reluctant to delegate to their subordinates. Clear? Terunada? Okay, understood? Kunani kata, right? So I had to get involved.
Yes.
Terunada?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay,
Yes,
so some of you are Buddhist, no? අර හාමුදුරුවෝ බණ කියනවා නේද? බණ කියනකොට ළඟ ඉන්නවනේ කට්ටිය. එතකොට එහි හාමුදුරුවනේ කියනවනේ. එතකොට තමයි හාමුදුරුවෝ ලස්සන කතා කියන්නේ. ඒ වගේ තමයි lecturer need to understand whether you understood or not. Now this is not a physical class, no. This is a virtual class. So I don't know whether you understood, whether you are sleeping or whatever. I am not aware. For that matter, I need to get the feedback from you. So how can I get the feedback? The important thing is when I ask from you whether you understood, at least somebody need to tell yes, no, whatever, right? Or any questions. I'm welcome to questions. Right. Okay. Now you have understood the concept. Now, why I told all these things? Now see, this is the questions came in your 2019 March. Now you know the last last year 2020 virus corona year, we not have the exam, no? So these exams for the students who followed previously, the institute is going to conduct the exam, have the exams on somewhere in end of this month, right? So we can have the 2021 question paper for that also we can discuss. But up 2019 March question. Now can anybody answer? Read the questions. Delegations of work in a financial organization may lead to escalations of cost of the institution. By delegating, the cost increase or not? So try to answer. Now, delegations of work to somebody will increase the cost.
No.
No, right? Good. So then, not A is not the correct answer, right? So the second one, B, will increase the length of completing task.
No.
You're not sure, no? That's I know. You get confused. May or may not. Okay, forget about it. Right. That is why we are not doing, no. Why we are not delegating? Because this take more time. But some people do better than your boss. Right? You have to remember that to us. Then බොසා ගන්නවට ඉක්මනට සමහර වෙලාවට ඔයාට පුළුවන් ඒ වැඩේ කරන්න. Because you are more competent. Now suppose boss want to write type a letter. right, to the management or to the head office. Now that letter is given to you to do that. So you are very competent enough. You are very well on computer. So you are typing the letter more faster than your boss. So that means it is not the case also, no? So the B is not the correct answer, right? Clear? Right.
Yes.
So the third one will be able to tap into abilities and expertise of team. Okay, look at the second one. Will not do any change to the effectiveness of the institution. Now, so like definitely answer should be either C or D. No. Now, how to eliminate C or D? Now, will not, you look at the D, will not do any change to the effectiveness of the institution. Through the delegations, what you're trying to do, create effectiveness, right? Through efficiency and effective, because other people get to know to do the other jobs, right, if need arises. So therefore, remember, through the delegation, the effectiveness of the institution also increase, because if somebody, because why, the boss time can be used to do other important job, so that effectiveness of the boss, therefore it is effective of the institution increase. So therefore, what is the correct answer? In that case, we'll be able to tap into abilities and expertise of teams. That means through the delegation, what you're trying to do, we are trying to develop the knowledge, the skill, and the competencies of the other people. Right? Remember, another things I want to tell you, through the delegation, it is important to manager to find it out who can do this particular job better than other people. So manager has to have an idea about the people who are working under you, who is capable for what. Right? It is the manager's job. So manager is identify who can do this job better compared with other employees of the organization, other employees of the division, so other employees in your branch. So manager need to identify the best person to do that job. So there, another way is through the delegation. So you improve your abilities and expertise of team mean in the branch. Okay. So therefore, the correct answer is C. So you understood now what do you mean by a delegation, right? Because
Yes.
right. Okay. So now you know what is delegation, what are the objective of delegation, and why we need to do the delegation, and why managers are a little bit of reluctant to delegate. Now, have you heard about the story called Subasayasa? Right? Drama? Story? I heard that. So ask from your parents, they explain to you. And delegation is something like that. Okay. Right. Now, we move into today's tune. Okay. So that what we have discussed last time. Okay. Now, we are moving to performance appraisal. Now, it can be have a many forms, right? Some people are talking about performance appraisal, some people are talk about performance evaluation, and some people are talk about the employee appraisal, whatever you call it, right? So what you're going to look at it, you are going to measure your performances, right? So therefore, remember, so there are many definitions, right? Many definitions given by lot of gurus about performances, right? Now, the three famous performance gurus, I mean HR gurus, Gluick and Youngblood and Weather Davis also. Don't worry about these guys, right? And what they have defined, what is performance appraisal? Now, the performance appraisal is basically is doing for collecting evidence about the employee performances or productivity of the employees for purpose of making variety of decisions. Can anybody tell me what are the decisions can be taken by the management by evaluating your performance? Can anybody tell me while evaluating your performance, right? So you may gone through evaluation of your performance now. So the management can take many decision, many HR decision evaluating your performances. Can you tell me any decision the management can take after evaluating your performances, right? What are the decisions the management can take about your evaluating your performance, right?
Salary increments.
Salary increment,
Salary.
then promotions, right? Identify some of your weaknesses, right?
Performance
Identify
bonus.
your some of the strengths. Then you can decide what are the training program you need, like that. So many decisions can be taken by the management after evaluating your performances, right? Now, so therefore, performance evaluations or performance appraisal is what you call gathering, analyzing, recording informations about your employee job performance. Gathering, analyzing, recording informations about employee job performances, right? Okay, so that's the important thing. Now, some people are telling performance appraisal programs are most helpful tools an organization can use to maintain and enhance the productivity and towards strategic goals. Right? Now, why employees are there to achieve organization objectives? So, through performance appraisal, you will promote you to do more work, thereby improve your productivity or the performance, thereby ultimately achieving strategic goals. Okay, another definitions, don't worry about my systematic way of reviewing and assessing the performance of an employee during a given period of time. Right? Now remember the performance has to be done at a particular period. Right? Maybe 1 year, 6 months, 3 months, like that. Right? Performance for particular period. Okay. Now, having understood the definitions of um, appraisal, so as I explained to you, and it is a systematic way of examining how well your employees is perform your job, right? බලන්න එපා නේද මෙච්චර අමාරුවෙන් අරගත්ත වැඩ කරනවා. Now, P mean performance evaluation is a planned system that allowing feedback to given a formal sense. Now, so it has to be communicated to your employee whether your performance is good or bad, right? It is a two-way process in today's context, right? And it will encourage positive performances and behavior of the employee. What do you mean by that? That means, so the through evaluation your performance, so you will if you are bad, so you are given a warning or instructions. So what we are expecting from you, not this. So you have to be change your behavior to work more hard. Don't take much leave. But other one, if you say positive performances, so you are motivated to work more because the performance is good, you're doing a good job, and you try to do more performance than what you're doing. Okay, right. So therefore, remember, it will satisfy employee curiosity as to how well they are performing in their job. So everybody is willing to know how you are evaluated by your manager or evaluated by supervisor or evaluated by your management. So everybody likes to know how my performance will evaluated by my boss. So employee curiosity is there through this performance appraisal, right? Okay, so that's,
Sir,
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
sir, some of the points not in.
See නේද මෙහෙමනේ දැන් මම මේක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දාලා ආපහු before I come to this, Puta, I will go through, and then I thought this has to be incorporated. I'm very happy. That is the one sort of people I need. Mika is your Reiki. Yes, good. I waited. I waited somebody to ask me that question. I kept quiet purposely. Now, why I put this, Puta, when I'm going through again? Now, this is I usually prepared maybe 2 weeks before. No, I had to send to IBSL, right? So then I'm going through again. I also thought of incorporating certain other points, right? So then and there in my presentation, I'll incorporate these are letter additions, right? Later additions, right? Don't worry if you interested, you just put it, but otherwise forget about, right? Put into your memory is more than in writing. Okay, so what I'm just to put this information for your better understanding purposes, right? There's nothing much. If I important, I will tell you. Write down here. Right. Okay. Thank you for raising that question. I like that. Mean I know you are aware and you are live in with me. Live in concept, right? Okay. So as I explained to you, through the performance appraisal, you can achieve, organization can achieve certain objectives, right? Let's look at it. What are the objectives or purposes of performance appraisal, right? So first one, through performance appraisal, we can identify the training and development required for employees. Now, through the performance appraisal, some areas you are weak. So these areas identified by the manager can be suggested to the training department. So majority of my employees are lacking these areas. Industry knowledge about the banking, industry knowledge about the business, and some new marketing techniques, digital aspects of banking, like that, or operation aspect of banking, they have identified. So therefore, through the performance appraisal, this can be used by the training department to conduct some training by training program. So therefore, performance appraisal benefited to identify training and development needs of the organization, right? Second, to evaluate the effectiveness of the training programs. E-common. Now, say for an example like this. Now, your previous performance appraisal, your manager has identified these are the some of the weaknesses. So, based on that, you send it to head office or training department or training division or maybe some other private place from the bank sponsored to develop that knowledge. Okay, spending some money. So then the next year's evaluation, you noted that the manager has noted that you have not improved that area, despite the fact of you have sent for the training program. So you can identify the training program for conducted to improve that area is not effective enough. That is why you are not learned, or maybe due to some other reason. So therefore, so it is a give an opportunity to the management, also to your boss, to see the effectiveness of the training program you have undergone. So through the performance appraisal, you will not only identify the training and development needs, but to evaluate the effectiveness of the training program. Third one. So it is important for you to identify your strengths and weaknesses. Give the feedback. You can tell your employer, your boss or your supervisor, your manager can tell you these are the weak areas, right? These are the strengths for your performances, right? And also, as somebody told me clearly, it can be designed your salary increments, right? You can take some salary increments, so based on your performances, and it can be designed your promotions, right? Can be desired your promotion, right? And you can see assess of level of performance. You are excess performer, a superior performer, average performer, satisfied performer, like that. You're okay, but you can do more, right? You can assess your level of performances, right? So boss, that means the boss is expecting more than what you're performing, right? Again, the same thing was repeating, right? Don't worry about that. And also, performance appraisal also, mind you, also facilitate for disciplinary action also. Suppose if you are not performing well, you was requested to perform well, you are sending for training, still you are not performing well. So then the performance appraiser can take some disciplinary actions about you, or maybe demotivated, or maybe transfer, or maybe some actions against you, right? You can, suppose if you are in the probationary period, you can extend it your probationary period for another 6 months, or even you can terminate your job. So likewise, there may be a lot of purposes or a lot of objectives you can do, or you can take variety of decisions about the performances appraisers, right? Okay, I think you understood that also, right? Clear? Another, right? So you know what are the objectives. So sometimes the examiner asks you what are the decisions. Now, rather than say, the examiner will ask you this question in a different way rather than objective, right? Now, say examiner put a questions like this. Performance appraisal is an important a human resource function in an organization, right? Then they say, so through performance appraisal, the management can take variety of decisions. Name few decisions the management can take about from after performance appraisal. So then, no, that is the one, is it? That's objective. So the decisions, these are the decisions, right? Now the questions can be framed in a different ways. Only thing is you need to understand. That is why I'm keep on telling you all, it is a duty, it is important for you all to, actively involving in listening to the classroom. So through lecturing, I'll tell you more than what you are in the note, right? So understood now. So what are the decisions, or what are the various decisions can take place, right? So performance appraisal, for therefore, mind you, it is for as for you as well, right? It is benefited for you. Now another questions can ask, how it benefited to you, how it benefited to the employer or to the banks. Both ways, the same thing you switch on. Now, how it benefited to you to identify your weaknesses, right? You can strengthen, you can rectify your weaknesses, right? So, how it is important to the management to identify your training requirement for promotion, right? Disciplinary actions and things like that. Okay, so performance appraisal is benefited therefore in the both ways, right? Okay, right. You can do it for promotion, maybe transfers, right? Under disciplinary, you can say you can transfer, you can reward. Reward means in increasing your salary, improve your promotion and things like that. Okay, right? Okay, so then we now moving to the next part. Now, Putha, it is not in your handout. Sorry again, right? Right. If you can somewhere write down this one, it is an ideal, Putha, right? Appraisal process, right? If you put down these points, right? I will, while put down one point, I will explain, right? I think it's better if you can put down this part, appraisal process. Now, in in today's context, how to conduct appraisal. First one, establishing objectives of performance evaluation. PE mean performance evaluation, right? Okay, first one, have you written down, Puta? I'm sorry, I thought of, actually this is little more, but then I thought of giving you to get a better understanding about performance appraisal, right? It's not necessary, but for better understanding only, I incorporated that appraisal process. First one, establish objectives. Now I'll try to explain to you what do you mean by the first steps. There are 5-6 steps involving, right? First step is establish objectives of the performance appraisal. Now, what are the objective performance? So the objectives, establish objectives of performance appraisals or evaluation mean the target given. So job given, whether you achieve or not. What is the expectation from you? Now say you are in the there is a task given to you, no? So that is your objectives. Establish performance evaluation objectives, right? And target. Say example for target. Example, you can say target, right? So what is the targets given for you, right? Okay, have you achieved a number of deposit savings account, number of accounts like that? The objectives, right? Second one we call formulate policies. Formulate policies. Now policies mean basically involving policies basically like this. Second one, formulate policies. Now who is going to evaluate you? Formulate policies. Who is going to evaluate you? Kawuda oyaව evaluate කරන්නේ? Right? Okay. Second one, when you are going to evaluate, kawad සෑම අවුරුද්දකටමද මාස 3 3ටද 6 6ටද, that is the evaluation policy, right? And who should be is going to do? When you is done, how and who. So that's the policy. Now you know who is going to evaluate you. When I am going to evaluate you, how often they are going to evaluate you. Now usually in the banks, the evaluations is usually taking place year. But some organizations today, the evaluations are taking place maybe every 6 months, every 3 months, like that. Depend on the organization, depend on the bank sometimes, right? So that is a policy of the evaluation. කවුද කරන්නේ? කොහොමද කරන්නේ? කොච්චර වාරයක් කරනවා? How often? And who is going to do? When is going to do? That's the second part, right? Okay, right. The third one is establish criteria and standard of PE. Establish criteria and standard of performance evaluation. Now, what do you mean by a criteria? What do you mean by a standard? Just simply try to understand, right? Now, criteria mean, now say for an example, if I caught this criteria, what are the factors that are used to evaluate job performance, particular period of time? Now say quality of work, quantity of work, then cooperation, initiatives are examples of criteria. Now to what extent you support the management, what are the initiatives you take, like that. Now the standards are refers to rating scales, right? Now the standards are referring to standard Yes, results like good, very good, average, like that, right? So that is a standard. Now, how we are going to measure these criteria? Hondai, ita hondai, narakai, ange wage, right? Those are standard. So we have to have a standard of these methods, right? How we are going to evaluate good, bad, average, like that. Criteria is the um, the uh, the factors that are you take into account to evaluate. Standards are measurement. Right now, say for another example, we say criteria. Right, one criteria is profit. For example, what is the standard profit? You need to have 10 billion profits, like that. That's a standard. In evaluation, criteria is something, the factors that evaluate your performance, and the standards are rating scales. Right? Maybe 1 to good, 1 to 5, like that, or maybe good, very good, excellent, like that, right? Okay, so you must have a system like that. Then the next one is the selection method. Now, select method. Now we are going to little bit of discuss now how I am going to do the selection. How we are going to collect the, how we are going to method you are going to use the performance evaluation. Right? I just move type of appraisal. So method of appraisal. Right. Now it is in your handout, right? Okay. Now one method is one you call supervisor appraising method. Now say supervisor or your boss, you are going to evaluate you. Right? So how are you going to evaluate your boss? There are different methods you can evaluate your boss can evaluate you. One method is overall assessment. Right? There is no any method, any criteria. You look at it overall your performances. Right? He may not have a particular important key areas to monitor, but you take the overall picture about you. But those things are not taking place now in the organization. Usually these are outdated, but you can measure overall assessment of you by the manager. Really, how they come to work, working, how behave you are in the organization, how you are good with all factors, average, overall assessment about you. One way you can do. Second method is what you call guided assessment. That means the manager is given a guided way. These are the areas you need to look at evaluating your subordinates. Right? These are the areas. They categorically mention these are the areas: punctuality, attendance, right, achievement of targets, communication skill, knowledge, all things given by guided assessment. Right? On that particular criteria, you're going to assess your employee. Or sometimes grading. Sometimes the employees may be grade number of areas on the certain rate, employees in the number of areas, right? Job knowledge, right? Okay, then another method we call behavior incident method. So they look at it, your behavior, right? So how you behave, so you how much you contribute to the management. So when you're coming, when you ask for come for Saturday to work, and so other activities, other how you're involving in other activities in the bank or branch. So that is behavior incident methods. So what? So manager will make a note on these things, right? These are some methods you are going to evaluate you, right? And as sometimes we call result oriented scheme. That means to what extent you achieve. Now you are given a target. You are given target. Say you need to open 10 accounts, or maybe you need to open 100 accounts per new customers. To you need to bring new 10 customers, or maybe you need to open current accounts, so many customers, right? So these are result oriented schemes. So there are many ways a manager can evaluate you. Different methods the manager can be used to evaluate you, right? These are some techniques, but don't worry much of this, right? But you need to understand how we are going to measure your performance by your supervisor, right? Another method is, okay, that's a one method. So manager evaluate you. Second method is self-appraisal. That means there's another way of you can do it by yourself. You yourself, you assess yourself and forward it to your manager. Third one, 180-degree methods. So I'm just explaining to you simply, you try to understand. 180-degree means boss is evaluate you. That is normally taking place in the bank in today's context. Boss evaluate you based on certain criteria, maybe as he like it, and giving that information, that appraisal form to you, see whether you agreed or not. Right? You can fight. You can say, no, why you put me less marks and less rating for this. So it's a two-way dialogue today. Right? So you can agree, you can disagree. Right? So boss evaluate you, right, and give you to see whether I am evaluate you right. So you can argue on that. Another method is what you call the 360-degree evaluation. Now that 360-degree evaluation is not normally done for lower grade, is usually done for a little higher grades, right? Okay, I will explain you what is 360-degree analysis. Then sometimes employees are rated by their subordinates rather than by the superiors. One method is that. Now, usually up to now what we discussed, boss evaluate you. But sometimes you are evaluated by your subordinates. There are different methods of evaluating, right? I just explained to you, there are different methods of evaluating you, right? So now let me explain what do you mean by 360-degree. So just to understand. Now, in this 360-degree, mind you, it is not evaluated by your it is not there in the 360 method. Okay, it is there, but I try to explain to you what you mean by 360 method, right? Okay, now 360 method is basically talk about, don't write all these things, right? Not only your boss, other people also, some other people also evaluate you. You get the total picture, right? Now say your boss is evaluating you. Then your subordinate also evaluating you. And your peers, that means suppose you are marketing manager in the bank, or maybe operation manager, or maybe training manager, whoever. Now there are some parallel people now with you, peers we call, then HR manager, then marketing manager, all are peers in the same grade. How they also given chance to evaluate you. That is your peers. And one way your superior evaluate you, and subordinates are evaluate you, your peers are evaluate you, sometimes your customers also evaluate you. So that means you are evaluated by different people. Once you evaluate on your boss, there may be a lot of issues can creep into your result. So we will discuss what are those things in later on, right? So in order to prevent that, so many people are evaluating you, right? But remember, these methods are little consume time, costly. So therefore, for a bank, it is difficult to apply to all the employees. But there are some high-level position. This method can be used, right? Now, what we discuss a method called the 360-degree. Now, boss is appraise you without telling anything. That is 180 meters. Then boss avilla ඔයාව appraisal කළා. ඔයාට මුකුත් කියන්නේ කෙලින්ම යවනවා HR එකට ඔයාගේ. avoid now you don't know how you evaluate, right? So but you don't know how you evaluate. Boss have the power, right? So he make use of your performances evaluation, and saying sometimes you are good because of personal reason you are not give marks, right? Ultimately you are not recognized by the management because your evaluation is not good, right? That's the 180 method. But it's usually today people are moving from 180, so direct to 180 methods. That mean 180 means so once you evaluate you in the given certain parameters or some points, you are given to you the format what the boss is saying. Now you can see how your boss is evaluated you, right? You can agree, yeah. So why you say I'm not coming to work properly, I'm coming to every day, then boss said, yeah, then boss has to give answers, right? You take so many leaves, then you can say it is my right, no, right? No. Then boss can evaluate you. You are not much committed. Then you say you are not supporting the other activities of the bank. So why? But we have conducted some programs, some cleaning programs, some house-to-house campaign. You are not participated. So you can tell. So then you think, oh yes, agree, right? So work-wise, your communication is not good. You are always fight with customers, right? All things can be discussed. So it's a very important thing. Now today we are talking about before. So in today's context, we call management by objective. So we agreed how we are going to evaluate me. I'll give you, this is where how I'm going to evaluate you. So both are agreed, and then see whether things are happening accordingly, right? So this method is heavily used now today. Once boss is approved, as given to you to see whether I am done is correctly or wrong. But 360 degrees, not only your boss is doing, other people are evaluating you, and it's give a more clear picture. But it is very difficult to apply for all the jobs, right? Clear? I think you understood that part. Right? Okay. Then there's another method we call bell curve performance appraisal. Right? Bell curve performance appraisal. It's another method of appraisal. Clear? Now, bell curve performance appraisal mean basically is a ranking system. It's a ranking system imposed by the employees by the management. Now, under this ranking system, you categorize employees based on their performance and reward or penalize the employees accordingly. Now say it's a bell curve. Bell curve ko danone graph එක bell එකක් වගේ. මේ bell graph එක, and he divided into workforce segregated into top performers and medium performers and poor performers. Your employees are categorized into 3 types, right? So who are perform well, top performers, medium performers, and poor performances, right? Okay, now the bell shape, we decided poor, top performers, medium performers, poor performers. Like that, you categorize employees. Then what happened? The percentage varies with the organizational policy. The banking policy. I know they say 20% top, middle 70, and bottom 10. So that means, so average performers are 70, top performers are 20, bottom performers are 10. So the employees belong to the higher grades. Now they have identified contribute significantly to the organization, who are comes under 10% category, right? And the other people, middle level employees, are significant in number, and their presence ensure uninterrupted workflow, but they are average people, right? They are not fully performers, but they are okay people. But there are some category who are not performing go to the 10% level, the bottom percent. So usually the management categorize organizations, employees, they are measure. There are some people work hard, they are putting to that category. Some are middle guys, 70, and some are not good, they are putting to the bottom line. So that way of appraisal we call bell curve methods, right? And this is a basically we call them as what? As random method of performance evaluation, right? I understood. I think now you understood the methods of evaluation, right? Method of evaluation. Hari, I know. Are there any problems on that up to now? What we discussed, method of evaluation. Hari, monohari prashna තියෙනවා. Understood the buddhida sadhana. Right, now what we have discussed, we are discussing, okay, we'll come back again to this. So what we are discussing now, we are discussing the appraisal process. First we discuss what are the objectives of the performance appraisal. What are the formulating policies? Policies mean who is going to do, when are going to do, and how is going to do. Okay? Establish criteria and standard, what are going to measure. Select methods mean these are the things we discuss. How you are going to evaluate your performances. These are the methods by your supervisor, how he do, and 180 methods. Once you evaluated, it gives to you and see the progress. Third one, the last one is the 360 method. That is, of course, 360 method is the better method of performance appraisal. Not only your supervisor supervise, but other people also evaluate you. But it's time consuming and it is very difficult to do all the things. So these are the some sort of selection method, right? Now, next one is design, evaluations, and form mean basically, so there are standard printed forms available. Now, most of the time, based on that evaluation sheet, your manager or your boss is going to evaluate. The evaluation process, you have the areas you are need to measure. Attendance, functionality, knowledge about your product and services, treatments, achievement of targets, all things are there. There are some criteria against that you are going to measure, right? End of the day, so you put all the points together and say, they give some marks, scaling marks. One say, if you earn 75 total marks, so say good, right? If you get more than 80 marks, you get maybe around 60, average or good. Then you're having less marks, you say average, and if you say not good, right? Like that. So you can measure based on certain criteria given in that form, right? So most of the time, what happened? Most of the time, what happened then? When your boss is evaluating, there may be a lot of errors going to come to the results, right? Okay, don't worry about this. Some issues about performance evaluation. Right. Now, let me explain now what are the issues of performance evaluation, right? What are the evaluations of performance? It is in your handout, right? Okay, what are the issues, right? Issues with, what are the issues? Problem with evaluator. Now, the person who's going to evaluate you have some problem. He's not like me. He's not properly evaluate me and things like that. Evaluator problem, your supervisor problem, right? Second method, legally defensible performance evaluation system. So this method is what you are using is legally accepted. Now, why I put it this point, when you go for promotion, especially for even for private or even for especially for the government banks, when somebody got promoted, right? Some people go to the courts, human rights, asking, and they have not selected the correct person. And then what happened? Legal judge will usually call for performance appraisal system of the bank, and they say, "Now this method is very unfair method." So therefore, some performance evaluation systems developed by the organization must have a legally defensible PS system. That means management need to show or prove the legal or to the courts this systems is very much um, legally defensible system. That means acceptable system how we are evaluating the people, right? But still there may be issues in these legal issues. Third one, uh, motivations of managers for accurate implementation. And I mean, the motivation is not motivation of managers. That means managers are not much motivated by the top management to accurately implementing this performance evaluation system. How many of your managers are, I mean, basically considered pay adequate attention for evaluating you? හිතන්න ඔයාගේ මැනේජර් කොච්චර මේ සඳහා අවධානය යොමු කරනවද? ඔගොල්ලෝ කියලා කිව්වොත් තමයි කරන්නේ නේ හුඟක් වෙලාවට. නැත්තම් මතකත් නැහැ. Right, boss, I have to, it is my time for evaluating me. Is that so? අපි හෙට කරමු. So they are not pay more attention. That's another issue. Then it is a responsibility of organization to see whether the evaluation is done by correct time, proper persons, and like that. And it has to be accepted by the union. Some union, I mean, lot of banks are having unions and labor unions, but unions are not accepted the bank's performance evaluation system. So therefore, lot of issues, right? But out of many of all these things, the most important things is the then we look at the ethics of performance employees not good, and some people the design in such a manner is not properly done like that, and documentation is not good. Some criteria used for evaluation is not difficult to evaluate, more subjective than an objective like that. There are some issues of performance evaluation. But out of all, so the examiner is more concentrating on about your evaluator problem. Now let's look at it now. Evaluator issues. That's the most issues you're facing at the time of evaluating your performance. First one is called halo effects, or sometimes we call horn effects, right? Halo effects or horn effects, right? Now, what do you mean by the halo effects? It is in your handouts, right? Okay, so these are the problems: central tendency, harshness and leniency, recency, and then personal prejudice, then awareness, and things like that. Now, let's look at it. It is in your handout. What do you mean by halo effect, or sometimes we call horn effects? Now I told you, there is some criteria given by the employee to evaluate you, certain areas. Now you are certain good at one area. You are good at, you are certain areas you are very good, right? So what your manager, what your evaluator do, based on good area, he give all other areas also good, despite the fact of you are not doing well in other areas, right? And that is halo. Suppose you decide some area is bad, one area is bad, but ideas you are good, but the evaluator judge you all other areas as bad. So that is horn effects. Halo means the good, horn is the bad. Now one area you good, they mark all other areas also good. So that is halo effect. one area you mark bad and you mark other areas in the entire evaluation sheet is bad. So that is horn effect. That is what you call halo and horn effect. These are problem with evaluate. So then ultimate resource not the correct one. Got the point? You know what you mean by halo and how what is meant by horn effects. Second method. Second one is called recency. Now the reasons mean now you also very smart, no, right? Now you know when I'm going to evaluate you. Now say the example, your evaluation is done by every end of the year. Say for example, every year end of the year. Now the last 3 months, you are very good. You are come to work every day and work full-hearted, committed, work in the evening and ask from boss, what can I do for sir? I have any other work to do, right? Then for the first 9 months, you will not come to work, you are not doing any work, you know. And what boss also forget everything. Why? Forget remember only the last 3 months where you work very hard. Based on that, he created you very high. So that is the recency impact, right? So you are very smart fellows. No, some people, you know, මේ කාලේ තමයි අම්මාව එවැලුවේට් කරන කාලේ ඒ කාලේ බොස් එක්ක මාර බලන්න ඕනේ වැඩ කරනවා විලාවට එනවා ඉවරයක් නෑ වැඩ ඉල්ල ආනවා, right? Why, you know? So boss also, we are all a human being, forget what you have done first 9 months, right? Based on the last period you evaluate the entire year is good. Now how to avoid that error? That is why usually the management is request you to do a frequency. So the time, don't wait till the end of the year. Every 6 months or every 3 months, you need to evaluate your employees. Then you can't do things like that. Okay, so that is the recency error. Third one is the bias. The bias errors may be due to, we call them as personal prejudices. Because you employee is in my school, you are relating to my religion. Your father is known to me. You know, lot of things. You know, that is what you call the bias, the personal prejudices, right? And those things are creeping to your resource, good way as well as a bad way, right? Okay, so those are right? I don't know why. No, you may have a lot of dialogues like that. No, why? I don't know. So, but those are the results, right? Bias. Okay. Then there may be a strictness, right? Now some bosses are like that. Now some bosses, even though you very good heart, he gives good only. He never gives excellent. He never gives very good and things like that. Is the nature of the appraiser, right? Some managers, some people are, some employees don't want to go to that particular division because when you go there, I never get very good marks. Always I get average mark or maybe good. So that is the strictness. And some managers, some supervisors are leniency. Ayo, yeah, adu marks then low by wagi. What happened? So he may give high marks to everybody, right? He was not willing to give low ratings. So leniency, that's also wrong. Then what happened? The people who work hard also get the same. People not work also going to get the same marks, right? Next one, central tendency. Now, central tendency means the appraiser rates all employees within the narrow range. Ani mama මොකටද මේ තරහ වෙන්නේ මුළු staff එකත් එක්කම ඔක්කොමත් එක්ක මං හොඳින් ඉන්නවා කියලා ඔක්කොටම දෙනවා එකම range එක. පොඩි වෙනසයි. දැන් අපි හිතමු ඔක්කොම staff branch එක 50ක් 20ක් ඉන්නවා කියමුකෝ. ඔය 20ටම මම දෙන්නේ 50යි 60යි අතර ඔක්කොම okay, right? ඔක්කොම එකමනේ පොඩි 1-2 marks වලින් තමයි වෙනස් වෙන්නේ. So that is central tendency. So these are weaknesses of evaluator. So actual people who work hard won't properly evaluated, right? Other method is what you call contrast. What do you mean by contrast? I am always compare X with Y, right? අරයට සාපේක්ෂව තමයි මම බලන්නේ. Like the two banking assistant. අරයා හොඳයි මෙයා හොඳ නැහැ. So he may be good in one area, he may not good in other area. I'm always comparing, right? Compares with others, right? Instead of objective performances, but they look at it in a subjective manner. So those some of the weaknesses. So these are what you call, when your employee are evaluating, those are evaluators issues, or sometimes your superiors issues. Now what happen, all these issues comes to the evaluation. That means what happened, you are not properly evaluated, right? You are not properly evaluated. Okay, so there are so many things from in your level, and this is more than enough. Okay, have you understood? I took more time to explain you about performance appraisals. Hari? Okay, right. Now have you understood, Puta? Have
Yes,
you
sir.
understood
Yes.
performance appraisal? That again, I will explain to you some areas if you want to highlight it more.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right? Have you understood? Right?
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming, huh? Okay, so I just give me 2 minutes to summarize what we have learned, right? So what is performance appraisal? It is how you measure your performance level in a different way. That is used for different decision making. Different decision can be taken place because of your performance. So then we discuss the what are the issues and what are the methods of evaluations, and what are the issues faced by the evaluator if you are not done properly. Okay, right. So now with this small work, we move into the next point. It's another important area, that is what you call performance right. We call performance reward management. Now you see that, no? It is not in your handout, huh? Don't worry. Now what is that? Performance reward management is giving something you to work hard. Carrot පෙන්නලා වැඩ ගන්නවා වගේ තමයි වැඩක් නේද? Right. Okay, let's look at it. Reward management, right? It is a formulations and implementations of strategies and policies that aim to reward people fairly, equitably, and consistently in accordance with the value to the organization. So now, reward management, remember, benefited by performance evaluation, right? But reward management is a totally different thing. But performance evaluation benefited the reward management. But reward management means how are you going to value your position or value your job within your organization. Based on that, you're going to give your what? Reward. Reward may be salary, other benefits, right? Many benefits is what you call reward. How you manage your reward, right? And it deals with designing, implementation, and maintenance of rewards, improvement of organization, team, individual performance, right? Clear now? That understood. So through the reward, what organizations is try to do, try to get the more, treat the people well, people who are work hard. So what are the objectives of reward management? Let's look at it. What are the objectives? One objective is you need to get more people, suitable, qualified people to the organization. You must offer a better salary or better reward. Now, when you go for an organization, what you're asking, what is the salary? What is other benefits I'm going to get, whether it's medical covered, whether I'm going to get bonuses, whether I'm going to get a vehicle, I'm going to get something. All things are called reward, right? So if you have a good reward, so it is easy to get qualified person to the organization. They're willing to go to that organization. Second one, and also to motivate employees. If you are giving a better salary, you motivate employees, right? So you don't want to leave the organization as well. So then people who are qualified, competent people not leave the organization. Why? Because you are getting a better reward within your own organization. New people is to be attracted. You can motivate your existing employees to work more harder, as well as retain your existing employees, right? Another advantage. And also, sometimes we need to comply with legal requirements. We need to give them a certain legal minimum salary. So you need to comply with legal requirement also. We need to manage your rewards to comply with legal requirements, right? Also. Then also to ensure equity. So what do you mean by equity? Equity means everybody need to know, so we are fairly treated by these systems. Our reward systems are fairly treated. Equity. So if you work hard, you are getting, right, equally treated. The last one, we need to control employee cost, right? Why? I told you in the very beginning, the second cost of the organization is, first one is the interest cost, and the second one is the employee cost. The second highest cost for an organization is employee cost. So therefore, it is an important to manage the cost of the employee, but giving high while managing the cost. So these are some of the objective of the reward management, right? Now let's look at it. What is pay? Right now, there are two things. Pay is the basic reward an employee receives, usually a wage or salary, right? And payment made to an employee mean in return for his contribution to the organization. ඔයා කරන ලද contribution එකට payment එකක් වශයෙන් තමයි ඔයාට මේ pay එක හම්බෙන්නේ, right? Page may be wage or salary, but don't put it in. So what is the difference between a wage and a salary? People may confuse. So wage or salary, both are same. Some people are getting wage, some people are getting salary. So what is the difference between these two? Both are pay, right? What is the wage and salary? Just for your understanding only, I show some slide here. So wage mean, so wage is usually pay according to the, don't worry about this, number of units, right? And it is not salary is usually giving for time spent for working, number of units. Now usually the salary is basically is given for people who are in some sort of a managerial employee, right? Whereas the wage are usually called is not a managerial employee. It's a you work hard. If you work, you get this salary, right? So that is the, some wage is usually paid daily or hourly, but salary is usually paid for weekly or monthly, right? So wage is easy to measure, but salary is very easy to measure. There very subjective sometimes, right? So just to get an idea, what is the difference between wage and salary, right? Wage is basically according to the number of units or product produced or sold, but salary is for spend time for working. And usually for salary for managerial type of a job, wage is some sort of a not managerial type of a job. So you need to understand, right? Okay. So then what is the significance? What is P? PM mean pay management, or sometimes we call the reward management also, right? Now, why pay management or reward management is important? Now, PM mean pay management, right? It's also a reward management. About the reward management. Why is manage reward is important? Managing payment is Pay is important for an organization. One, employer considers it as an expenditure. It's correct, no? It's a cost. It is an employee cost. Salary is an employee cost. Employer considered that an expenditure. Then, employee, what he is considered, he views is an income for him. It is an income. So therefore, always there is a conflict between expenditure and income. Right? Between employer and employee, always is a disputes and conflicts between these two. Why? Employer always try to reduce the expenditure. Employee always want to increase the income. Right? So you see, it is a basically you need to balance these. You need to balance these conflicts. So that is why it is reward management and the pay management is an important thing. Employees requesting reduce the cost. That is his job. Earn more profit. What is employee expecting? High income. So then always there is a problem with these two. So proper management or proper pay management or proper reward management, what they try to do, better reward management or pay management, try to reduce these conflicts between employer and employee. That is why we need to manage reward. Otherwise, right? So conflicts. Employer, so all this issue. So have a better reward management. So we try to minimize this gap or minimize these conflicts. That is the significance of pay management. If they were better manage it properly, so there won't be any conflicts between management and okay, right. So then we look at it, other factors. Okay, now when you look at it, a better payment system or better factors you consider in developing a better reward system. What are the factors you need to consider? Right? Let's look at it, some factors. Then you look at what are the market rates? What are the other competitors are giving? Right? How much affordable for organization to give you? Right? Culture and the value system of the organization. Right? What is the bargaining power with the unions? Government intervention. Right? Then any legal provisions, cost of living high. So we according the banks are benefited on this because banks salary may be linked to your cost of living, right? Most of the banks. And productivity of employee, the demand and supply, the labor availability, ability to pay, right? Your competitive pay, who are the people, other banks, how much you pay for banking assistant. All factors you need to look at it for better reward system, right? So not only one factor. For banks are especially look at competitive pay, market rates, affordability, all collective bargaining power with unions, all matters you may take into account when you developing your performances, right? Okay, now we are moving to the most important area. Right? Okay, now let's look at it. What are the most important area? A lot of questions are coming on this area, right? Okay, let's look at it, this question. Now you see, so banks usually, especially for government banks, you have a collective agreement system and performance-based remuneration system. Now, what do you mean by performance-based remuneration system? Right? What do you mean by a performance-based remuneration system? In a bank, your remuneration is usually paid two ways. One, performance-based remuneration system. Other one is collective agreement-based remuneration system. Right? Let us look at it now. What are these two types? Now, collective agreement-based remuneration systems mean determining employee remuneration of all grades through agreement between trade unions and the management for a fixed period. Now, in today's context, the management fixed period may be every 3 years only. They really look at the remuneration system, come up with new salary structure. That is collective agreement between employees and the management. Collective agreement based remuneration system. Other method is what you call, there's no any collective agreement based. The performance based remuneration systems mean remunerations of the employees are determined based on the individual performances or team of individuals. Right? Okay, now that's the truth. There's no any fixed rates determined by agreement within collective agreement with union or this. Right? So a lot of private organizations or private banks are today are going for performance-based remuneration system. That means if your performance is good, your remuneration also increase. Right? So that is why importance of performance review as well. Right? Performance-based remuneration system, collective agreement-based remuneration system. Right? I think now you have understood what do you mean by collective-based agreement-based remuneration system and performance-based remuneration system. Clear? Terunada? Have you understood what you mean by a collective agreement-based remuneration system and performance-based remuneration system? Clear?
Okay.
Right. Okay. ඒක හිමින් කිව්වේ ලාවට තේරුණා වගේ නේද? Collective agreement based remuneration system and performance based remuneration system, right? So that's depend. Now, okay, now I'm just going to ask you something. Okay, right. Let's look at it now, right? In collective agreement based systems, right? In collective based agreement system, trade unions tend to keep remuneration disparities low across various categories of employees. Do you agree with this strategy? Right? Now they say in collective agreements based system, trade unions tend to keep remuneration disparities across categories. Now you see, for an example, I'll explain to you. Now, what union agreed collective agreement කියන්නේ union එක එකතර වෙන එකමුතු වෙන කාර්ය. Now we have the banking assistant, the next senior, junior executive, senior executive, supervisors like that, and the chief manager, senior manager, chief manager, AGM, TGM, senior DGM like that, or maybe vice president, senior executive like that. Those are categories, no? Now, what collective based agreement, the gap between, say for an example, banking assistant and the executive, the gap between the 2,000 rupees, we say 10,000, senior, say executive get 30,000. This gap is very much low, right? So what collective agreements try to do, try to bridge this gap as small as possible. But it is not the case in the other methods. You see the private performance-based remuneration system, these gaps are very high. Your senior level manager, say get 100,000. So the next level may be getting 50,000. This gap, the remuneration disparities is very much high in other employees. Now, what this question is asking, collective agreement based system, trade unions tend to keep remuneration disparities low across various categories of employees. Here, පරතරය හරි අඩුයි තියන්නේ. වැඩි වෙනකොට ඒ කැටගරි එකට වැඩි වෙන ප්‍රමාණය හරි අඩුයි. නමුත් වෙන තැන්වල එහෙම නෙමෙයි. gap එක හරි වැඩි. Right? Then me ahane, do you agree with this strategy? Answer is no. Why? Now different jobs are performed by different people, take more responsibilities. Now say for an example, banking assistant and the manager. Now say what the collective agreement said, the banking assistant get 20,000, manager need to get 30,000 only. But work and the things is take with the banking assistant is a huge difference. So therefore, can you consider both have a very smaller gap? That is what collective agreement always telling to reduce this disparities is low, but in the private sector, the performance base cannot agree to that. If remuneration is not deferred accordingly, employee categories of high job responsibility and expertise are discouraged and enterprises will be affected. But you won't see, right? Because the responsibility taken by the manager is very high. Right? So what is collective agreement can be gap, but it's not the case, right? Usually it has to be increased. That is why they said no. I hope you understood that point. Then you look at it, pay for performance, that means performance based remuneration system. What are the challenges, right? Just look at it. What are the challenges? Pay for performances. It is in your handout, no? Oh, right. It is not there, so don't worry about that then. Okay, right? Don't worry if you are not there. Don't worry about that point. Okay. Now, homework. Right? Homework. Now you do homework, no? Can you write down this question? Right? Write down this question. Briefly discuss the salient features of performance-based salary revisions of a bank. Performance-based. Please indicate how it benefits for both employer and employee and also some negative impact of same. Right? Please write down. Now we discussed, Puta, there are two methods of performance evaluation. One is collective agreement based, right? That is mean collective agreement based remuneration system versus performance based remuneration system. Now the question is asking, what are the specific salient features? Now, Putha, remember, the moment the examiner asks you from salient features, right now, remember the word, the examiner asks from you the salient features. So you need to write, I just put it down, you need to look at it from the positive as well as the negative. Both you have to explain. That is why down they say, please indicate how it benefits for both employer and employer and also some negative impact of that. Right? So when you develop in performance-based salary revisions of a bank, what are the salient features? Right? So good and the bad. Okay? Can you answer to that? So we will discuss next time. Okay, you write. Next point. And another questions. Right? Another questions. Why some employees are underperformed and what action you suggest to improve the performance? Say now you are a manager. Now you are promoted as a manager. Now you see some banks, some branches, some employees are not fully perform. They call underperform, not up to station. why they behave like that, why they underperform, and what action you suggest as a manager of a bank to improve their performance. Right? These two are, in fact, the examiner's questions. Right? These things are repeatedly asked by the examiner in a different ways. I just put it down to two questions. Right? Okay. Let's look at the questions. Now, when you come for next week, I'm not forcing you to do, right? It is up to you to do. Because if you write something, good. I will give the answer, don't worry. But if you can have a separate piece of paper, now you have written down this question, try to think, okay, what are the benefits or what are the issues of performance-based remuneration system? With your own knowledge, with your own thing come to your mind. If you want to refer something, you refer, no problem. And try to put down some points. Then I will explain the answer for that. Then you can compare what you have written and my answer. What extent is tallied. So then the moment you written like that, you don't want to study again at all because it's going to your memory. It is registered in your memory. You don't want to cram. Right? Okay. So are you with me? So you are trying to do the job, right? So we have spent a little more time today for discuss about the we want to cover job evaluation as well as training and development, as well as what you call as health and safety. So those are areas, but so we end up with stop at two areas, because two areas are very interesting areas in human resource management. So performance evaluation, the reward management. Okay, I hope you have written down these two questions. Okay, right. Okay, clear. How many of you have written down that question? Yeah, okay. So
Yes, sir.
basically, yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Any question? So you want to ask some question, no? Unari anda didi? Whether anda akamatira test karanda. Kobalan chat ke see promotion, demotions. Okay. Second point. And mukadde mama samata balana. Please say second point again. Mukadde. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wages, daily pay, good. Both are not same. Good. Right? Good. Some of are given answers. Sorry for I'm delaying. Look at it. Right? Okay. Right. Amansa. Okay. Ashal. Okay. Avinisha. Aisha. Chatumani. Danushka. Right. Okay. I can't read all these names. Okay. Have you understood today what we have learned? So I thought now we need to pay more 1 day extra to do the balance part. No. So there's something I thought of covering next week. I may need another week, but don't worry. So maybe another 2 weeks time. Therefore, we can cover the entire human resource management. Right. So what I'm trying to do, I will try to see. In fact, I have already asked the questions appeared in the under this section. But anyhow, I try to give you a small note, not a note. All the questions came in this area under human resource management. Right? So then past papers, questions pertaining to human. And still you can answer any question. If you can answer me, I have taught you everything and you also learn everything. හරිද? HR එකේ විරුණන් පස්සේ ඒකේ subject එකට ආපු ප්‍රශ්න ඔක්කොම මම ඕගොල්ලන්ට I will send you a word document, and see whether you can answer. Okay, I hope you be with me only. You can answer, right? But before that, you try to answer what the questions I gave you, and I give you a hint for that. Now, what is the advantage of performance-based remuneration system? So that means, so if you work hard, you're remunerated high. So therefore, you tend to work more hard. You may be more committed. You're going to come up with a lot of innovations idea, right? And it benefited to build up better customer relationship, but customers wants and all things, right? And also there's some bad areas also. But in detail, but sometimes if you want to, because your performance based on your remuneration, what you're trying to do, the weak side, bad side of, you're trying to cheat the customer and try to get more business without telling the full information. And that is what you call financial mis-selling. You're not selling the product in a proper manner. You're trying to cheat the customer and you're going to sell, because why? Your salary based on your performance, based on remuneration, you're based on performance, right? So those are some of the bad side. Good side, if you work hard, you are getting more, right? Bad side, you are trying to cheat your customer. So we will discuss, right, some of the good things and the bad things about the performance-based remuneration system. Okay, so exactly another 1 minute or 2 minutes to go. So therefore, we will see you on next Sunday. Please go through the tute of the balance and trading and yeah, and then yeah, and health and safety, and the new sections will going to come. I think already they have emailed to you the discipline, the last part of the syllabus, right? I mean the HR part, that is that is discipline management and things. Okay, right. I hope you understood. So we will see you. We catch up on next Sunday at the
Thank you,
same
sir.
time. Okay. Have a nice weekend.